Over 6,000 Norwegians served in the Civil War, yet they are often overlooked. Hi, I'm Natalie Smith, and I am a history major at Luther College.
And I am Tanner, and I'm also a history major at Luther College.
Today we are talking about Norwegians in the Civil War, discussing their reasons for fighting, ethnic pride, and their contribution to the war effort. We interviewed Professor of U.S. History, Mark Guerci, in order to gain expert information on the Civil War. A Civil War-era wooden chain, crafted by a Norwegian-born soldier, will provide additional insight.
Ole Ruud was born in 1842 in Dokka, Norway. In 1851, his family immigrated to the United States and settled in Wisconsin. In 1862, Ole, along with other Norwegian Americans, volunteered to serve under the 31st Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry, under command by Colonel Isaac Messmore. Ole's military career was rather boring. He spent much of his time idly waiting for the call to battle. He passed the time by carving a decorative wooden chain. The 31st Wisconsin would see action during Sherman's March to the Sea. Like many other Norwegian soldiers, Ole would sadly not make it back home to see his family. He died on January 7, 1865 from disease, only about 3 months shy from seeing the end of the war. Dr. Guerci noted that the life of Ole Ruud was similar to the lives of other Civil War soldiers.
A lot of the lives of Civil War soldiers is not drama. I think when I look at this artifact that it suggests that this is a very ordinary Civil War soldier who dies in a very ordinary way and might have had a very ordinary military experience.
Ole Ruud crafted a decorative wooden chain while in service. The chain is made of pine and carved from a single piece of wood. Connected to the regular chain links are decorative blocks which are carved with war imagery and American symbols on both sides. One block has the words Ole Ruud, Company E, 31st Regiment Wisconsin Volunteers, Colonel Isaac E. Messmore, carved into it. On the other side of that block, there is a Union flag with a 3-dimensional eagle carved over it. Another decorative block features a cannon and the saying, "In Arms for Union." The opposite side shows the Wisconsin state flag. The last block shows the Monitor, a Civil War-era ironclad ship carved into it, and the year it was made in 1862. The other side of the block has the American Great Seal. Norwegians voluntarily enlisting and Ole Ruud carving American symbols showcases that Norwegian immigrants wanted to be considered as American. Around the time of the Civil War, Anglo-Saxon Americans began to believe in their own racial superiority, resulting in a growing anti-immigrant sentiments and exclusion of people not considered white or American enough. Norwegian Americans responded by trying to prove they belonged in American society and near the top of the racial hierarchy. One way they did this was by leveraging their participation and sacrifice in the Civil War. Many Norwegians lost their lives fighting for the country, proving that Norwegians were good immigrants and Americans who deserved to be there.
Many Norwegian Americans, including Ole Ruud, felt pride in their heritage. On the carving, Ole includes an image of the Monitor. The Monitor was an ironclad ship commissioned in 1862 as a counter to the Confederate armored ship, the Merrimack. The Monitor is so important because it was created by John Ericsson, a Swedish-American architect and engineer. Ole saw this as a prideful statement to the efforts of the Scandinavians fighting in the war. Now this war was not just about Americans, but also about how immigrants were able to assist in the efforts in their own way.
While many Norwegians wanted to enlist with other Norwegians, the only majority Norwegian regiment was the 15th Wisconsin Regiment. Mustering the regiment began in the fall of 1861. Volunteers came from throughout all the upper Midwest. Enlisting with the 15th was appealing to Norwegians who didn't speak English yet because of the guarantee of officers that spoke Norwegian. During the initial enlistment, 850 men joined. The regiment was also led by a Norwegian Colonel Haig, who became a source of pride for Norwegian Americans. The 15th participated in 26 battles and skirmishes, losing about a third of their men throughout the war. Some of the most significant battles the regiment participated in were the battles of Chattanooga and Chickamauga.
In conclusion, the Norwegian Americans' role in the Civil War was significant, not only because of them fighting in battles, but also because of the cultural significance it held. The newly immigrated Norwegians used their sacrifice to forge a place for themselves in America. However, they still held on to their Norwegian pride. Ole Ruud's life and his wooden carving displays these values. We would like to give Dr. Guerci a special thank you for agreeing to be interviewed for this podcast. We would also like to thank the Vesterheim for allowing us to do more research on this artifact. And thank you all for listening to this podcast.